Hello again, MMA True Believers. I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I have the pleasure of being joined by a man on a 4-fight win streak and currently sits as a number 15 ranked lightweight in the UFC, and that is the one and only Beneil Dariush. Beneil, thanks for the time today, man.
What's up, brother? Good to see you. Good to hear from you.
Now, I wanted to go back to your win in March. You know, your fourth straight, like I mentioned. For the majority of that first round, you were on his back like a backpack, but you weren't able to end the fight with a submission. First, was there a point where you are in that position for a couple minutes? You go like, "Damn! Like this guy's putting up a serious freaking fight." And are you almost impressed that Drakkar was able to avoid the submission the rest of that round?
I was impressed, and looking back at the fight, I think I was too much into jiu-jitsu mode. I took him down, got on his back, and I said, okay, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu now. I should have focused more on, punishing him a little bit with punches and things like that. But honestly, he's a good fighter too, so more respect to him. He's a good fighter. He fought hands really well, and I just got to figure out the glove situation. It's a lot easier to choke without the gloves.
Talk to me about like the energy level it takes in hanging on to Drakkar for that long a time. I think most at home will think like, Close is the one getting tired because you're carrying literally all his weight, all your weight on his back. Going for subs can be tiring, most people would assume, for the arms and stuff like that. But is having your legs wrapped around an opponent like that very taxing to the legs too? And does it make not getting a finish there that much more difficult? Because not only are you getting your arms tired, you're getting your legs tired going into another round.
Yeah, so that was it's one of those situations where, like, do I give this up? Do I keep going? And I thought to myself, I'm gonna finish. My legs got a little heavier and a little heavier. I could stay in that position for a very long time, but afterwards, when I have to start moving around, start striking, focusing on that stuff, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So my legs were heavy in between the rounds. I had a minute in between the round, and then they were heavy for another 30 seconds in the round.
Wow.
But then I was pretty much back to normal. But I could hear his corner yelling, "Oh, he's tired. His legs are tired. Go after him!" Like, they really pushed him to come after me, and I think that's actually what set up the knockout, because he was so aggressive. It actually led to the knockout.
And that's interesting because I was gonna ask about that because, like you said, his corner was announced. It was talking about like your legs. The commentators were saying, "Oh, he had ice put on his legs. His legs are in trouble." And then he did come out so powerful, so much momentum. Is there a point? Is that one of those situations where it's kind of like a test, like one of the higher tests of a professional athlete, where the crowd's getting into it? They think you got hit, you think you got stunned. The crowd's getting loud. Everybody thinks they're against you, thinking momentum is building against you, and staying focused in that moment, and pretty much from what you're telling me, putting on a poker face, to let them know that they make them think your legs are tired, but in the end, you're not. They're not at all.
Yeah, so couple of things to that. As far as the crowd goes, you got to shut that out. You got to find a way to disconnect from that, because it'll emotionally draw you somewhere else. Second thing was, I had to focus on what I did in training. I did so many sprints. I did so many rounds of grappling. I did so much striking. That's 3 minutes on someone's back, or 4 minutes, however long it was, should not be a deal breaker. I should be able to recover from this. So that was my thought process. Look, I'm gonna recover. Maybe I don't win the first minute of the second round, but I'm gonna recover and I'm gonna be back fine. That was the thought process, and my coach kind of just re-established exactly what I was thinking, which really helped. That was pretty much it.
You ended up completely shutting him off, hitting the reset button on him, knocking him out. You've been in this game a long time, have tons of respect throughout the industry, but are getting wins in a fashion like that maybe people aren't expecting because you're such a high-level grappler. Is it a great message to the division? Like, yes, guys, I'm a talented grappler, and that's the real bread and butter, but as you can see, you need to really worry about my hands too. Is that kind of a good thing to get from time to time?
So I thought it was a good thing. I appreciate that I'm getting bonuses and all that stuff. I appreciate that. But now that I'm looking for a fight, I can't seem to find a fight. So I don't necessarily think these guys are afraid of me, but I do think it's like a risk management thing. I think the risk of fighting someone who's ranked number 15, and they might have to give up their spot for that, it doesn't make sense. They would rather fight someone else, less risky, I guess.
Now and I'm glad you brought up getting a fight, because I saw the tweet you had about, pretty much wanting a top 10 guy next. Now you have a great manager in Ali Abdelaziz behind you, working all the scenes and everything like that. But having been in the promotion now for 6 years, you kind of get it. What is your confidence level? You will be stepping into the octagon with a top 10 fighter, just like you said, and the risk reward, is the confidence lower now that you're going to get the fight you want?
Uh, Honestly, I'm not sure. They're telling me we are, but I'm not sure. And I, I get it, man. If I don't get a top 10, okay, I get it. But I really believe I worked for it. I deserve it at this point. But you know, if I'm fighting the best guys in the world, at some point they can't deny me. They cannot deny me, and I'm gonna get that title. So I mean, to fight a top 10 opponent is I'm not really interested in a top 10 opponent. I'm interested in title. I'm interested in fighting the best guys. So that's just one more step towards that. So if if I have to take longer steps to get to the title, that's fine. I'll do that. But yeah, confidence wise, I'm not that confident. So to make it short.
Now let's say, okay, it's not a top 10 guy, but there are still very good fights right near you in the rankings, near 15. There's the possibility, there's someone like Gregor Gillespie. You and him would be fantastic in terms of the grappling, what could happen in that fight. Islam Makhachev, a guy's got a lot of hype behind him, a rising star. That'd be interesting. Another one is a straight up legend in Donald Cerrone, who does moonlight at welterweight, but he's still looked at as a lightweight. Would any of those fights interest you? Is maybe facing like someone like Cerrone even better than getting a top 10 opponent?
I think Cerrone right now, like, I think everyone wants to fight Cerrone. He's a big name. He's a big draw, and all the fights that Cerrone's in are like awesome fights, and it's gonna get you more recognition. To me, to fight Cerrone is to fight a legend in the game. I have a lot of respect for him, so that would be one of the reasons I would want to fight him. But in terms of rankings, I would go with Gregor. I think Gregor is the guy. He's ranked number 11. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud, and I like fighting the best possible competition, and I think he's pretty high up there in terms of competition.
Your longtime coach Rafael Cordiero has made headlines recently because of his work with Mike Tyson. Rafael has a lot of respect throughout the industry. You got young fighters, established names that always want to go to him and work with him and train with him. You've worked with him a long time. What makes him so unique, such an interesting coach, such a good coach to work with, that even a guy like Mike Tyson, granted he's an MMA fan, but he's from boxing, he's long in the tooth, wants to go to him to train? What makes Rafael so unique?
I think it's because I've been with him for over 10 years now. We've never done the same practice twice, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think it's the fact that he's constantly bringing in something new. It keeps him up to date. It keeps him focused. It forces him to continue to study footage and develop. And because he does that, there's new things in his game all the time. Because, this game is evolving, and it's evolving really fast. If you don't keep up with it, it will leave you behind. It's that simple. I mean, I'm not saying Dominic Cruz is left behind, but you can see the difference between Dominic Cruz and Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, I spoke with him today. He was telling me like how much footage he's been studying, how much he's been working on this, he's been working on that. It makes a difference, man. You have to stay in the fire. You can't leave the fire and then expect to come back and think you're going to be just as hot as you were before.
So, I mean, interesting factoid that you just gave me about Henry Cejudo's looking at footage and studying. That doesn't sound like a guy that's retired. What do you think? Is he saying retired, or you have some intel that we didn't know about?
I don't. I honestly don't. He was at Kings today. Calvin was there as well. So, and he was just speaking, and I didn't. There was so much to take from that. He was speaking. He's got the persona. He has the Triple C persona, but. And it's cool. Don't get me wrong. The Triple C persona, the cringe persona is cool. But like when he becomes genuine and when he starts to speak, you're like, oh dang, man. You should open up your notebooks and start taking notes.
Now, something that everyone's been going through and has been dealing with this coronavirus pandemic, stay-at-home orders, all this kind of stuff all across the country. For you, the last couple months, it's opening up a lot of places in the U.S., but what was your pandemic situation like the last couple months? Were you able to get things or do things that maybe you weren't before? Like for me, I discovered Rick and Morty. It's one of the best things I've discovered during this time.
It's pretty good. I watched a few
Yes.
episodes. Yeah.
Had there been things that you finally gotten to or maybe watched that you didn't before?
Someone told me to watch Lion King. Not Lion King. What is it? What is it? What am I thinking of?
The Netflix
Tiger King.
show.
Tiger King.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched an
Yeah.
episode. I said no, thank you. This isn't for me.
So Beneil's the
Uh,
one guy that doesn't like Tiger King. I respect that.
yeah. So I watched a little bit of that. I was like, nah, I'm cool. I've been. I honestly, this has made me actually wrestle more. So
Hmm.
I lost our training. We lost our training because of the COVID. The gyms were closed, and I found all these high school kids that were interested in wrestling, and I just found like two at first, and then that two turned into four, and today we have a mat of like 30 kids in here, maybe 40 kids in here wrestling. So that's been so beneficial for my game. I've been doing just pure wrestling. That's how I basically spent my time is wrestling.